Assalamu alaikum, friends. Welcome to another episode of Let's Chat with Binish and Mavish. Assalamu alaikum, Mavish. How are you?
Alaikum, how are you?
Good, alhamdulillah. How's your summer going?
It's doing pretty good. Came here to New York.
Nice, nice. Enjoy the yummy food and everything. Today's episode is a continuation of our previous episode where we talked about how society and culture affects or has a great influence on a successful and happy marriage, or the system of marriage we have in our society. Sadly, it is more negative than positive, and that's what we have created. That's what we continue to practice, and that's why things are not getting better. And we did talk a lot about the factors, and we're going to continue building on that. But go ahead and check out our previous episode for more detailed overview of all those factors. And it's very enlightening. When we have to do this, we have to sit down and think where we have gone wrong, and then somebody has to take ownership and responsibility and bring the change. And I think we as women we are built by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. And I think we should be the driving force of the change.
Just like we have more opportunities. Right now, we have a lot more
Opportunities, we
choices.
have more resources, we have more support, and things are changing. People are starting this thought process, that something is wrong, something is off, because the results we're seeing of the past 50, 60 years of whatever we have been doing is not good, is not
Yeah.
good. Unfortunately, the worst part of it, this is like we talked about in our previous episode, that marriage is the most beautiful relationship, which is the first relationship created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But unfortunately, because of how dysfunctional our marriages are, our kids, the next generation, is discouraged to get married. So they are turning towards haram more than halal. To achieve or to get that halal is so difficult. And the picture we have portrayed in front of them of a marriage is sick. I think it's very, very sick. I mean, and I don't blame them for running away from it. And that is why we need to encourage learning what actual marriage is, what's the purpose of marriage, what are the reasons one person should be looking into getting married. Unfortunately, right now are the wrong reasons. Go ahead, Mahesh, what do you have to say on that?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there that we made halal so much harder. And it is just the portrayal of marriage that is given to us, especially for women. It's just, I think if we were truly given a choice, many of our women would refuse to get married because woman is the one who is asked to basically bear the emotional burden. They're the ones who are supposed to have sabr. They're the ones who are supposed to take care of everything. And what sane person would want to go into a relationship where she is the one carrying the whole burden?
Mhm.
And now that I think many women have been given the opportunity to get an education and all of that, and now they're learning more about deen, they are more prone not to want to get married or more prone to wanting to leave that relationship.
Mhm.
And I think as a society, we need to understand that the reasons, number one, they want to leave the relationship, and what are we giving them?
Mhm.
What are we telling them about our deen when it comes to marriage? When it
Mhm.
comes to that beautiful relationship that Allah Ta'ala has created and that foundation of society,
Mhm.
because we kind of talked about this. If you have a dysfunctional marriage, you're not going to have healthy individuals. You're not going to have individual healthy in the sense your child is seeing that dysfunctional marriage and they're going to keep kind of copying that and not breaking the cycle. We need to break the cycle. And as women, we are the one bringing up the next generation. Women are the one, mothers are the one talking to their sons and daughters about what a relationship should look like. And that's why we kind of have to take up that flag or whatever you want to call it
Mhm.
and make the change, because we keep talking about it. We keep talking about our own relationships, we keep talking about our friends and what we have seen, but we don't really talk about what we can do. I
Mhm.
think we kind of have this, what's the word? This kind of fairy tale mentality that someone is going to come and save us,
Yeah.
instead of becoming the person who saves yourself.
Bring the change.
And I
Yeah.
think that's where the change needs to come in. We need to stop waiting for other person to give us that justification or validation that you are worth it, that
Mhm.
you should be asking for this.
Yeah.
And I think it's also the fact that we are very much a collectivistic society where our individual needs do not matter as much.
Yeah.
So when a woman does approach someone about her problems, we don't look at her as an individual. We look at her as a mom or as a wife
True.
or as a daughter. We don't look at her as a woman who
Mhm.
is suffering,
As a person. Yeah.
as a person who is suffering, who needs help. We
Mhm.
look at all her roles. We talk to her as a daughter. We are told as women that if you do this, you're going to bring shame to your family. You're going to bring shame to your father, your husband, your kids, your sons. So it never ends.
So you're carrying such a huge load of how, if I take care of myself, how is it going to affect my kids? How is it going to affect my, why is that even a question? Why is her mental and emotional health not important, or even physical health is not important? So she's compromising every single thing about herself, yet in the end, she's not a perfect person either.
And the funny thing about it is, you are telling me on one end that the woman is the most important person, in the sense that
Yeah.
her actions will bring shame. Her actions will affect the family. Her actions will affect the next generation of the whole khandan. I don't know, everything. At the same time, why are we not taking care of our women then?
Because I think we are so used to the comfort that's provided by our moms and wives that that's all what we are worried about. And discomfort, I can't deal with it because, oh my God, I'll have to wash my own clothes, then I have to wash my own dishes, or I might have to clean the house or the kitchen, or cook, and everything is not going to be in order if this one person. And honestly, if you value your servants more than that mom that's not even getting paid for all
Yeah,
what she's doing, not getting paid, and I cannot value her worth in money, because it's priceless. No money can actually repay a mother's hard work, a wife's hard work, when she is 100% invested in her relationships and doing everything, sacrificing her own self and making the family happier and healthier. I think it is the family's responsibility to give her a break as well. You
yeah,
know, yeah. But who's gonna bring that change? That's the thing. Like you were mentioning, that we just want to talk about it. We just want to whine. We want to cry. I think it's a conversation on chai conversation. What we have, we just want to whine and cry about everything that's wrong happening around us, but really don't do anything about it.
yeah,
So are we looking at another 50, 100 years of the same things? I mean, that scares me. I don't want
yeah.
that for myself or my kids.
Yeah, I don't want my daughter to be sitting down having the same conversation.
Yeah.
We need to grow as a society. We need to grow as individuals. And the only way that could happen is with the women that are right now. And it doesn't matter what age you are. You could be the youngest person, you could be oldest person. But if you start talking, for example, like you can start small. For example, someone comes up to you and says, my husband is, um, I don't know, my husband doesn't clean after himself.
Hmm.
You need to think, what is your advice going to be? Are
Yeah.
you going to say, oh, well, that's how men are?
Yeah. Hmm.
Or are you going to say, well, you should ask him?
Talk about it. Yeah.
Or are you going to give a kind of it really depends what advice you're giving, because then it shows where you're coming from and what change you want to bring.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think that's where it kind of changes, because if enough women turn around and said, well, he should be picking out after
After
himself. You should
himself.
not be ironing his clothes. You should not be treating him as a child, but as an
Exactly.
adult.
We're surrounded, that's a new word I'm hearing, but it's so true. We're surrounded by man child, man child, you
And
call that.
baby.
Man child, it's a
And child.
term.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, and it fits so well to, unfortunately, our men from our culture. And their mothers have been mothering them, and they move on to their wives and get babied, and nobody is teaching them responsibility. Then even though these men sometimes have lived by themselves and they have done things on their own, but then they choose not to, because I have this woman in my house who's going to take care of, whose responsibility, or okay, not even responsibility, whose jannah is doing my khidmat, serving me. Like, what kind of grandiosity is that? What kind of
Yeah,
arrogance is that, when I feel entitled that you have to serve me, because by serving me, you're going to Jannah? How? Astaghfirullah. I mean, may Allah protect us from that kind of arrogance. This is extreme.
yeah.
Yeah. And you yourself don't do anything to earn Jannah. How are you earning Jannah, by the way?
Exactly. How are you earning Jannah? I have fine. I am gonna serve. I'm gonna be quiet and all of that, which by the way is
Not.
not encouraged in Islam at all. That's
Yes.
like a whole different aspect of it, that
Yeah.
it is not
Yeah, let
right.
me add this, like slavery. This is a
Yes,
slavery. Slavery is
because
not a part of Islam anymore. Yeah,
because
please.
as a wife in our society, we don't even respect our women. We don't even find them, like we look down on them if they are taking care of the house. Housewives, they're called, because they
Are
married the
you
house
married to your house?
apparently, and or homemakers, or like, and this is something I heard from somewhere. I'm like, you shouldn't call them. You should be calling them managers and secretaries and
That's
shoppers and all of that, because they're not just homemakers. They're literally taking care of you so you can go out. Yes, you're going out and working, but guess who's taking care of the house so you can go out and work? Who's
yeah,
taking care of your food and clothes, doing the laundry and everything so you can dress up and go out there? Who is doing that? Who's taking care of your kids so you
yeah.
can go out there and work? And if a woman does decide to work, who is doing that for her?
Nobody. She has to come back home and double,
Double. She got a
double,
double shift then. It's
double
a second
shift.
shift. She
Yes.
gotta come home and take care of these kids and make food and clean and do the laundry and do the grocery and everything. And I understand that you're tired from a 9 to 5 job, but if your wife is working at home or outside, you
It's
should be chipping in. And our
yes.
society doesn't teach that to men. Our
No.
moms don't teach that. My mom, I'll be honest, my mom didn't teach that to my brothers.
Same here. Same
It's
here.
not done. It's
Yeah.
not expected. The woman is the one, it's always the woman. What are you going to do after marriage? What are you going to do? Even when you pick a career, you're asked to pick a career that's family friendly,
Mm-hmm.
because you got to, it's expected. It's just something that is expected. And I think that's the problem here. Because if you go back, the problem that is, I think, how we merge culture with Islam
Mm-hmm.
and made it to be something that it is not. In Islam, if you just look at the examples of our prophet,
Mm-hmm.
he used to work at home. He used to um, do his household
All those
chores, do the
chores.
laundry, cooking, cleaning. He would help out his wives. He would appreciate every single thing that they did
Yeah.
and love them, give them that respect and love. He wouldn't turn around and curse at her if there was too much salt in her food, in the food.
Yeah. And the
No, you gotta look at
simplicity, the
it.
simplicity of the simple lifestyle they had, it was not hard to keep up with, even. If you, okay, if you want somebody to do all those things for yourself, be a simple and easygoing person. So then she has time for something else as well. We are not debating on the role, the importance of the role of a wife or a mother. We're not debating on that. We're not contradicting that. We're not against that. In fact, that's exactly what we are emphasizing, that her role as a mother and a wife is not just limited to those household chores. It's
Yeah,
way more than that. And she just does not get any time to look into her actual role.
because she's been conditioned, like she's been conditioned since she was young that you get married and that's it. You become a wife and that's it.
Mhm.
What about her growth as an individual? What about her own passions and dreams and what she wants to do with her own life? What about that? And I think that also comes in when we're choosing, when the parents are choosing a spouse for her. First, she's told since she's young that you're going to do this after marriage. You can travel after marriage. You can get an education after marriage. And then you choose a spouse that maybe might not be up for that. What
Yeah.
then? What
Yeah.
happens to her then?
Put a hold on everything she wants to do.
Yes, you just put a hold on yourself. And I used to joke about this. I was like, you it's like you're putting me in my grave.
I know. Dulan banake. Why?
Yeah.
Why do
I
we
used
do
to
that?
joke about this. I'm like, that's what it feels like because you're asking me to hold, freeze everything and end everything because I would hear, oh, you can do this before marriage. Who knows if you can do this after marriage? You can wear this and this before marriage. Who knows? It's everything is such a kind of like a
Relative to someone else.
exactly. It's like you have no choice in the matter. Everything is dependent on that person.
There's like two things happening. One mindset is to find a girl who's younger, okay, like 16, 17, who's not fully developed, her thinking is not developed. So you marry that girl and then she becomes a part of your household. Intention is to marry off a very young girl so you can mold her according to how you want it to, like the in-laws, mother-in-law, the father-in-law, and the husband, how they want to mold this girl. Another extreme is getting married to highly educated women and then trashing them to the ground, not
Wow.
letting them practice, not getting them, letting them work, not letting them continue their education. I've heard so many stories of doctor women. They are doctors, they are professors, they are teachers, but now they're not allowed to practice, work, go out of the house. They just are limited to the household chores.
Yeah.
And not only for her husband, okay, if you bring out a girl and you tell her, okay, your responsibility is your husband, take care of him, and then maybe later on your kids. No, but she is put into a setting of a joint family where she has to take care of her father-in-law, her mother-in-law, her brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, where everybody's enjoying the life at the cost of her development, her personal growth, and everything. She's just a maid.
And the funny thing is that we have, what's the word? We made it a good thing. We talk about women like, oh, my mom had 8 kids and she would feed each and every one of them and she would feed my whole household. Did you ask your mom how she felt about it? It's not a good thing.
Yeah, why do you think that she's taking revenge from her daughter-in-law then?
Yeah.
That's where it comes out. We glorify these
Yes, that's the word.
behaviors. Yeah, we glorify these behaviors, and when we bring everything into a religion, giving it a name of religion, this is religious blackmailing.
Mhm.
We coach our women, groom our women to just serve, 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 and don't expect anything back. Selfless. You
Yeah.
just give yourself away, and
And
that's your jannah.
yes.
Which
Yeah.
it's not. Which it's not.
And now that it is starting to break down,
Mhm.
because I am seeing that now, and where girls are like, no, I'm not doing any of that. And they are being called selfish. Um, Now we keep talking about high divorce rates. Have you looked at the data of the reason behind that high divorce rates? Because we are tired of taking care of man child. We are tired of that.
Yep.
And I think nowadays girls are getting educated. They're getting, thankfully, are at last educated, getting educated about their deen, number one. I
Mhm.
don't, when I say educated, I mean in deen, because we have, as you mentioned, plenty of doctors and
Yeah.
professors who have are still doing the same exact thing their moms were doing and still going on with that cycle. And it's always surprising for me when I meet these women and they tell me what degrees they have, and I'm like, really? Because then why are you doing this? And sadly they have been, I mean, your parents spend so much money on your education, and I mean, it is your choice, obviously, if you want to use that degree or you don't. But
Mhm.
there's also a thought process, I think, that goes like, my husband has this really good, like, there are educated people and there are other educated people. They're educated in a paper and they're educated in their brains,
Yeah.
their mindset. It's
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about when I talk about education. I'm not talking about your degree. You could have a PhD. And if your mindset is still 40, 50 years ago,
Yeah.
and you're still doing the same thing to your teaching the same thing to your kids, you're not educated.
You're
You're
not.
not grown. That
Yeah.
educated the education did nothing for you. If you're
Nothing.
still talking about, I don't know, the most outdated things, like for example, there's so many outdated things I would hear from women when it comes to menstruation or intimacy. And
Mhm.
I would be like, did you not take a bio class in school? And
Mhm.
it's interesting. It really, I think that
Yeah.
it does depend on the quality of your education, in the sense, how much did you take in? And I think that is important when it comes to building our society, how educated our women are,
Yeah.
not just on paper.
When I was studying, things were kept a secret about my own body, about my own life. I wasn't told how my body's gonna, not even told to expect menstruation, you know. That was a surprise. Anything else, how my hormones are working on me, how my mood swings are going to happen, how I'm going to be happy sometimes, sad sometimes. And this is related to my hormonal cycle that's going on. Nobody is told all, any of that. And just because, alhamdulillah, I have been able to educate myself in these regards, I'm able to help other girls, younger girls, you know, the teenagers, to even boys
Yeah.
when they're hitting puberty. You know, there is a lot of changes that's going on in your body, and you need to be aware of all of that to be able to regulate and manage all this. Because you know, it's not, so if I am agitated or irritable because of my hormones, it's not fair to the other person to having to suffer
Mm-hmm.
because of my mood. So if I'm aware of what's going on and how to work it, I'll be able to build healthier and better relationships with, first of all, with myself and then with others. So these, all these things are kept secret. Oh my God, no, no, we can't talk about it. That's against religion. That's against manners. That's against this. Uh, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like shy people who don't want to ask questions to learn. Questioning to learn. Sahaba used to ask questions all the time in the Quran when it's mentioned that they are asking about menstrual cycles of women, you know, and when there are ayat about divorce explaining how much the period should be, and that's all related to our bodies, and we are told not to
Yeah,
study
and
about
then so much taboo around every woman's issue. There's so much taboo around pregnancy, around intimacy, around menstruation, where we are not told anything about it,
it.
where men, it's hidden from men, even though they live, I mean, they're married people, they should know about this anyways, because I heard so many women say that they wouldn't tell their dad and their brother that they're on their periods, and they would still stand with them in salah,
Yeah.
stand behind them in salah, because they were afraid, or they were told that it is something they should not be talking about. And I'm
Mhm.
like, this is a natural occurrence in your body.
Yes.
It's
There's
that
no shame in
person in
for
it.
example, in my household, if if I can't pray or I can't fast or my daughter can't, I'm not going around hiding myself and eating in a closet. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Everybody knows, and they're respectful of that.
Yeah.
And you know that there is a curiosity in kids. Of course, it's something new. Why are you eating, or why are you not praying? They're going to ask you, and you need to be prepared to answer those questions. But
Right.
how would you answer those questions when you yourself don't know how to?
That is so true. And that's like another reason, because that then is in connection to pregnancies. We love wanting our women to have kids, but they don't know anything about how to have kids. They don't know anything about their cycles. Like there was a point where I actually sat down with the reproductive system and went through it with a few of my friends because they had no idea how the cycle works.
Wow. Wow.
So,
So I mean, we're so unaware of our own bodies.
and we are
Subhanallah.
educated women. These are educated women who have college
Yeah.
degrees.
Yeah. 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 It's so true. It's so
And I mean, if we as a woman are not educated about it, how do we expect our men to know anything about it? We're just
Mhm.
alien creatures to them who have a lot of mood swings.
Yeah. And I'm done with just complaining and whining and complaining and whining. I'm done with all of that. I need to take charge. I want to do the right things. I want to get out there. I want to learn. I want to talk about actions, because that's another, this is a play card women play, that, oh, because I don't have any opportunities, oh, because my husband, oh, because my kids, oh, because I have a tough life, oh, because I am a woman, I am weak, I am this, I'm that. No, you're not. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you as a person, as a human being, and Allah has given you all the rights, all the abilities, uh, to defend yourself, to speak up for yourself, to practice all those rights, to demand your rights, to demand your place, the right place in the society. You
I
know.
think it, like everything that you're saying, I think that it really, all of that, we have given all those rights, but we kind of, especially, I think I have repeated myself like 30 times in the last video, that learn about your rights, because once you know them, then start demanding those rights. And when you say that I don't have the opportunity to learn, and you don't have the opportunity for kids and all that stuff, it then kind of comes down to how important this is for you. If we have time, we can be like, especially nowadays, we can just turn on a lecture and cook and clean and do it at the same time.
Mhm.
You can, I know so many women who have gotten their education while they have two kids on the side. It can be done. And if you're talking about how will I talk to other women, when you're having tea with them, when you're on that phone or conversation with them, bring it up, talk about
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
and give each other good advice. I
Yeah.
think that's like the most important thing. Don't stop giving advice that you think is going to make society comfortable.
Right. So we
Because
we should fear Allah more than the society.
yes, I think that we kind of talked about this, is that it kind of comes down to how we made halal so much harder.
Yeah.
We have made a marriage that's such a beautiful thing so much harder.
Mm-hmm.
We have made divorce, which is halal, so
Exactly.
much harder. And we
Exactly.
have attached a stigma only for women to it. And
Mm-hmm.
if you look at during the times when Islam was introduced to the Arab society and everything, and how many companions were divorced, and just during the times of our prophet, during
Yeah.
when our prophet was part of society,
It was so
what
easy.
was happening then?
It was so
It was
easy.
so easy. There was
Yeah.
no stigma attached to it. It was just a normal thing. And nowadays, women are beaten up. They are mentally, physically abused by not only their husbands, but sometimes also by their in laws. And
Mm-hmm.
we still turn around and ask the woman to try harder.
Yeah. Try harder. Keep trying. Keep trying.
What are we doing to our women?
I don't know. We don't consider them human beings, I guess. It is, divorce is an issue with men also. I have seen cases where men are suffering and they just choose not to divorce because of the kids or the
Mhm.
society. But sadly, there's a bigger number of women who are dealing with this. That's why we are more focused on that. We're definitely not minimizing men who are suffering as well. So
Of course.
divorce need to be um, okay. It should be an okay thing, when things are not working out, instead of giving your children an unhealthy environment and making them sick, mentally sick, and oh my god, and they become very, very disturbed people, and that turns into a very disturbed society and culture. So it's full of this is a society full of sickness. Instead, if you and I am okay with people compromising and staying together, but then you have to be civil, you have to be appropriate, you have to mind your manners and your language, all of that. So you at least give that child a safe space to live in and to thrive, and make them feel comfortable and not insecure and um, unsafe, because that's the first right a child has on you. But if you are unable to create that safe space for that kid, come on, get out of that relationship. It's better to be on your own and be happy, and let that kid see that it's possible to be happy by yourself. It's possible, and this is something this is an allowance Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, which we should benefit from
Yeah,
for the right reasons. Yeah.
and as you mentioned, if it's going to be affecting the kids, if it's really going to affect their kids and they're not feeling safe, it is time to consider leaving that relationship, because this is the next generation. These kids are your responsibility. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, the burden of pretty much the whole marriage is carried by the woman. You're giving her that much responsibility, but at the same time, you do not respect her maturity. You do
Mhm.
not respect her enough to
Mhm.
let her make her own decisions.
Or any decisions for that matter. She's not involved. You don't trust her judgment. You don't trust her wisdom, because she's just limited to the household chores, which you really don't need. You don't need to use your brain for all those things. So that's the persona you have built for her to believe about herself, and then you, of course, because you believe that about her, and then you make her believe the same thing, and she never takes a chance. She never
Yeah.
speaks up. She
And
always is going to self-doubt.
yeah, and if she ever does, she's overstepping them.
Yeah, she's put
Which
down.
again, if you and again and again, I think we're going to repeat this, is how much of that is culture and how much of that is actually Islam. Because at the end of the day, I think all of us should be worrying about our akhirah. We should
Mm-hmm.
be worried about that. And we are not, and are we actually doing what Islam asks us to do? Are we doing that? When it comes to how a couple comes to you, how are you mediating? Are you
Mm-hmm.
being fair to both of them? Because Allah Ta'ala has given us pretty much a game plan. If you have issues in your marriage, what
Mm-hmm.
should you do? What steps should you be taking? Are we being fair to both genders when it comes to that? Because that is also your responsibility. If a couple comes to you and asks you for advice, and if you're being unfair, that
Mm-hmm.
is on you,
Yeah, yeah, and I
especially
was,
if
yeah,
you are a religious leader in that
yeah,
society and you're an elder. That is on you, because
yeah,
that person, that couple trusted you to give them the right advice, sorry, the right advice, not something that is culturally appropriate.
right, right. And if you think you are not a suitable person to give a suggestion or advice when someone comes to you and asks for it, say so. Say I don't know. Say I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
You have to say those things, and it's okay for not knowing. Consider yourself a human being. It's okay to not know.
yeah,
Yeah. So let's move on to the reason we should be marrying. I see all the wrong reasons. I see people marry to make sex halal.
yes,
I see people get married to
have kids, grandkids.
have a progeny, nothing wrong with that. But I see people to marry to have a maid in their house,
Oh
someone to
yeah.
take care of everything. Are we actually marrying for the right reason? That's a big question. And because we don't ask ourselves these questions, we are not finding right partners. We ourselves don't know what we want, and then whoever we get married to, there are clashes, there is a miscommunication, there is a disconnect there, and we really really fail. We're failing big time, and this is scary. What is a marriage, and why should you even get married, or should you even get married?
Yeah. I think that's definitely a question we should be asking ourselves, because most of the time we're getting married because that's expected things to do. You get an education, you reach a certain age, you get married, and that age is also different for many people.
Yeah.
That's another, I think, thing that you have to really think. I know we want our kids to get married young, but do they have the maturity to get married?
Right.
And again, we kind of talked about this last week. It was, what tools are we giving them so they can become responsible adults
Mm-hmm.
and then thrive in a healthy marriage?
Yeah.
And and the reason we should be getting married is to have a companion.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't be getting married to have a maid. We should be responsible for our own duties, basically taking care. We should be able to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you should be getting married to have someone to cook and clean for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what marriage is. That's a master servant relationship. And
Yeah.
you're not paying that servant either, by the way.
Right.
You should be getting married to have a partner, and not just in the dunya, but in the akhirah also.
Yeah. A long-term goal. Yes.
A long-term goal. And you should be asking yourself was, how do you see yourself growing with this person? Are you ready for marriage? Number one. Number two is, what kind of spouse do you want for yourself? Be totally honest with yourself. What kind of spouse do you want? Because if you're not ready for marriage, I think that should be communicated to your parents.
Yeah.
There's so many marriages where we look at it and we're like, why did you even get married then?
Exactly.
You
Man.
don't want to connect with your spouse. If you don't want to take responsibility for the happiness of your spouse. And did you just marry for the halal sex?
Yeah.
Because your parents forced you to? If that's the two reasons, those are not good enough reasons to
Yeah.
mess someone's life.
Yeah. So, yes, to sum it all up, in my opinion, or what I've learned, first of all, I'm going to give an advice to the future generation to not look at the the previous generation
Yes.
for advices. Don't really go to them unless you know for sure it's a good person, to a trustable person who would give you a good advice. Honestly, don't expect them to be an example, a good example for you to follow. Unfortunately, the previous generation is not doing well and have not been doing well for a long time. So this is something you gotta create for yourself. You gotta educate yourself, and you have to be smart, inshallah. So, in my opinion, what marriage is, it's way more than dunya related things. It has to be long term goal, and our long term goal as believers is Jannah, is Akhirah, is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, a marriage is an institution where two people come together to create a beautiful environment for each other, and helping each other to come close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, helping each other to be better as people, be the best version of themselves. So we need to be supportive of that for each other. Um, being a support and a backbone for your spouse, a
Mhm.
companionship, building a communication, a good communication, partnership, owning your spouse, and be a partner to them rather than one person being the server, another person just on the receiving end of that. Be a partner, be someone you can confide in, be someone you can trust on. And then when these kind of two people come together and have kids, those kids are going to be the gems of future. And that's how you build a happy, healthy society and a positive culture of marriage, because it's very, very important. A marriage, a family is the foundation of everything. So if our families are dysfunctional, if a family is hurt or broken or going through all these kind of negative behaviors and experiencing all these negative behaviors, it's not going to create happy, healthy, positive, strong people. It's not. And that's what we're seeing right now. So we need to change that. So when two people come together, they need to be a source of positivity and growth for each other in every aspect. And I don't mean that you 100% depend on your spouse. You have to have a life of your own. You have to have a self identity, self development process, self growth process. You have to have all those things. And then you be a complete person before you get married. And then two complete and happy individuals coming together and doing wonders, And along with that, all the other bonuses or pluses is having a wonderful intimate relationship, having kids with each other, raising those kids as partners. It's amazing. It's all beautiful. And that's how you are helping building a happy, positive society, which is also going to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is your ultimate goal, to please Allah, to earn Jannah, inshallah, to improve your akhirah and be a source of someone else's good akhirah as well, inshallah. And through you and your spouses to play that role for each other, plus you combine together doing that for your kids and the next generation. And imagine if all the families become like this. It's not impossible, because that is the idea of marriage in Islam. So it's not impossible. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would never expect anything from us which is impossible, right? So these are all doable things. We can do all those things, and we should be doing all those things because we're all responsible. So I will definitely encourage the new generation, our next generation, to look into this, to study, to learn what a marriage is and what your role as a spouse should be, what your role as a parent should be, what your role as a member of the society should be, creating that beautiful institute, where you want to enter into that house and feel the sakina, the peace, the tranquility, that end of the day, you want to go back home, and and any problem, any confusion, any difficulty you are having outside the house, you are able to come back and talk about it and discuss it and get that support from your partner, inshallah. So that's how it's going to become. And it's hard work. It's hard work. It's not going to be a bed of roses all the time. It's not going to be a walk in the park all the time. It's not going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect, basically. It's never going to be perfect. You have to work on it. There are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be you will have to forgive, you will have to ignore, you will have to tolerate some things you don't want to, and you will have to compromise on things sometimes you don't want to, but in a balanced way, both of you have to do those things to make your marriage work in a successful way. And that's what we're looking for, inshallah. That's what we need to build. And And I would say, as mothers of boys and girls, uh, we are the ones who need to really teach our kids all these things. We really need to do that. We need to encourage them to go for premarital counseling. We need to make marriage counseling common. We need to equip ourselves to be able to counsel our young generation better. And we need to say, no, I don't know the answer to that. If you don't know, don't give a wrong advice and destroy someone's relationship. It's a life. It's With marriage comes huge responsibility of your spouse. That's a life. Then how many ever children you have, those are important lives. And then those children going into the society and getting married and having their own families. So your action, one wrong action, is affecting generations. So you have to look into that. It's a huge responsibility, and we're going to be answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for doing all of that. How we are raising our kids, how did we contribute towards um, our marriage being positive or negative. We're answerable to all of those things. We need to have a vision, and our vision should come from the Quran, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the hadith. um, and that's when we're going to be on the right path, inshallah. Yeah, you
Yeah,
think?
definitely. I think you kind of pretty much summed it up really well. That um, first of all, come together as individuals and just basically using Islam as a format and not culture, not your society.
Yeah.
If we kind of push that aside and really looked at what we are supposed to be doing as Muslims, I think that would definitely bring it about a huge change, because that's what Islam is all about, right? Bringing in that good change. Given Islam has already given us women and men certain rights over
Mm-hmm.
each other. And if we learn about that and if we start practicing that, life it will be so much simpler. Everything we just made everything so much complicated
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to so many things, beginning from marriage to motherhood to fatherhood, and it's just everything. And if we start just reading and learning about it, it just makes everything a lot more easier. It really does definitely come to that. And our responsibility as mothers is to learn, educate ourselves so we can give that to our kids, both of them, and be fair to both of them and not
Like in
be.
many places, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says you have to be a believer, do the right things, and give the haqq of the people and things like that, and be to earn Jannah. That's all.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know. Yeah.
it really does. And as you said, if you look at the bigger picture, if
Hmm.
you look at your akira, I think if everyone started thinking about that, I think we definitely will see a huge change, because that kind of gives you perspective, right? It's not
Yeah.
just what
Yeah.
you're doing right now. It's not. It's gonna matter at the end. It's not going anywhere. It's not gonna matter. And the interesting thing is that a lot of um, like we talked about how women are supposed to be forgiving. And at the end of the day, Allah Ta'ala is going to ask, not just forgive you, He's going to ask the person who you
Yeah.
did wrong to.
To
So
forgive you.
it's something to think about. It's not a individual thing where you do something wrong and you ask for forgiveness and Allah Ta'ala gives you. If you did someone else a wrong,
Hmm.
you need to consider what you're doing, because that person is also Allah Ta'ala's being,
Hmm.
and we are a gift to each other as husband and wife. So we should be taking care of each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Inshallah. Inshallah. All right. That's good. Alhamdulillah. I mean, we have established that our vision should come from Quran, from Islam. We should be able to differentiate between culture and Islam. We should define our roles in the light of Islam and not society and culture. We should be fearing Allah more than fearing people.
Yeah.
And that is going to be the driving force for us to do the right thing, inshallah. And let's be a part of this process and educate each other and educate our next generation, encourage them to do the right things, inshallah. We'll be a role model first, you know. What's done is done, but be the part of solution now and bring a change. Don't just have these conversations over chai, coffee. You know, we need to think about actions. It's already pretty late. Yeah, inshallah. All right. Okay, so that was part two of society and culture, how society and culture affects our marriages. And in the next episode, we are going to talk about the tools you can use to improve your marriage and your relationship with your spouse, inshallah, and use all those tools to build a beautiful, successful marriage. So if you have any questions, concerns, please, you can leave a comment or inbox any of us. Inshallah, we're going to address those questions and concerns. And if you have a problem, something's bothering you, an issue, let's chat. So, inshallah, until next time, we'll see you. Assalamu alaikum.
Oh my God.
Alaikum assalam.